this video, we'll be exploring the Storybuilder plugin that is available within CODAP. To get an idea of what the Storybuilder plugin does, we will first look at a data story with some data that was previously uploaded. The Storybuilder plugin was created as part of the Writing Data Stories project. The paper Wilkerson et al. 2021 will be linked in this video description. The goal of the tool was to provide an infrastructure for students to A, integrate their data investigations with relevant motivational and contextual information, B, record the step-by-step process and rationale of their data analysis, and C, reflect on and share the contextual and process-oriented elements of data analysis work with others. The plugin creates what's called a moments bar, where each moment acts as a page for the user to show what they have done with the data, such as creating graphs, inserting text boxes with explanations, and making changes to the data set. In this data story, we can see that there are 9 moments. So this is called our moments bar here. And there are 9 moments. This data uses data from the World Happiness Report. The data story itself will be linked in the description, and when you open this, you'll be able to find a link to the World Happiness Report. This report is compiled of survey data administered by the Gallup World Poll. Each year, the report ranks the happiness of hundreds of countries. Leading experts across many fields describe how measurements of well-being can be used to effectively assess the progress of nations. The reports review the state of happiness in the world and show how new science explains personal and national variations in happiness. So the data here is all the data from 2005 to 2019. So for the story, to advance to the next page, you just simply click on the box. I'm going to move this little text box out of the way. So in this first box, I have just showed the data with a text box and told my users what it looks like. And then if they hover over each of these things, you can see that there's nothing here. I'm going to click on the next box. And you can see what I've done now is I have changed the data a little bit by putting a description of the variable. So if the students hover, or whoever's using this, over each one, you can see some of the descriptions here. For instance, happiness score is a national average. A participant responses to the question, a ladder from 0 to 10 is a score of happiness. On which step of the ladder would you say you personally feel you stand at this time? And it's an average of all of the responses for each country. You can see Afghanistan has a pretty low happiness score. We go down here, Belgium is pretty high. Again, that's on a scale of 0 to 10. And they can hover over each of these and see what the different things are. Okay. If we advance in this story, you can see that a map is being created. It now only includes data from the year 2018. So the data previously had all the years, but now it's just 2018. The map on the right shows the scale of the lowest average scores reported on the life ladder to the highest. Okay, so if we look here, we can see that these countries, for instance, if I click here, are North America, Europe, and Australia looks like they're the happiest. If we click here, we can see that Southeast or Southwest Asia, some of the African countries seem to be the less happy. And there are more stories here and more moments. I'm not going to go through all of them because I do want to show you how you too can create a data story. This data story actually embedded another web page into the data story to start talking about happiness. If anybody's familiar with the Gapminder stories, you can actually see here how GDP per capita relates to life expectancy at birth over years. So again, there's another story there that I wrote and shared here. Anything that's done on this page is not reflected in the original data set itself. So the directions that I'm going to show you here are going to be using a data set titled Artist that can be found at the link tinyurl.com/artist data. I will put this link in the description so you can also access it as well. And then there is another link in the description for the description of the artist variables that we'll be looking at in this data set. So this data set was collected by Holland Stam, a master's student at Duke University, about how much space artists take up in art history textbooks. So the first thing we're going to do is open up a new CODAP page and import your data. You can either go here to the happiness report I had, and you can do a new page this way, or simply go to codap.concord.org/app, and that will also take you to a new CODAP page. We're going to click Create New Document. Okay. I'm going to actually import the data that we had here. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to just copy this data. Oops. Sorry. on a second. And click here. I'm going to hit Control A, Command A if you're a Mac user, Command or Control C, and then go here. And then I'm going to hit New from Clipboard. So it's just going to import that data right in there for me. Okay. All right, so once you've imported your data, what we're going to do is go under plugins and choose the Storybuilder plugin. The Storybuilder Moments bar will appear with a text box. You can move the windows around in CODAP and position the Moments bar wherever you would like. I myself prefer to have my Moments bar here in the top left corner, but you can also put it wherever you want to. I like to have my data down here, but it is completely up to you. If I'm sharing this with another user, say I am a teacher sharing it with a student or vice versa, I often like to build my story on my laptop screen. I have another screen that's much bigger that I can put things on, but if I create it on that screen and somebody tries to look at it on their laptop, the view will mostly be skewed. So I usually do stick to my laptop screen when I create these. CODAP automatically labels the first moment here start. This may be a good place to introduce a data set to the user. The text box can be used to describe the source of the data as well as the variables. It could also contain cues for the user to explore the data. Note whatever changes in the yellow moments box is the label for the text box here. So for instance, if I put start here, maybe I want to rename this to artist data. Rename that and see it renames it here. So it changes it wherever that is. I'm going to actually go and copy and paste what this is. I'm going to just copy and paste a little bit about the data here. This is data set by Hans Dan, a master student here. You can also put links here as well. So here's a little a link that you can make sure that this will go out to a link. Oops. Everything here. I'm not hitting Control C. I'm just doing it in my brain and not actually doing it. You can create links, you can create lists, you can create all types of different fonts. You can make this bigger. You can actually go into the code if you want. If you have some embedded HTML code, like I had that Gapminder page in there, you can actually embed code in here. You can add pictures, whatever you want with this little piece right here. Once you're happy with whatever your moment is that you've created, you can click this little checkbox to save the moment, and it will save whatever you've done. Okay, there is an autosave feature. I tend to not do the autosave feature when I'm working on this because sometimes it automatically saves changes as you work, but sometimes you don't want to really save what you've done yet. So I tend to not do that. I just hit a check mark. When you're ready, add another moment by clicking the box with the plus symbol. Now you have the chance to be creative. Start exploring the data. What questions do you have about the data? How can you use CODAP to answer those questions? Create moments to tell your story that can be shared with someone else. You can delete moments by clicking X on each moment. You may also move moments around by holding a moment box. So let me try to create another moment. I'm going to create a moment. I'm going to call it Artist, Race, and Gender. And here I want to tell my students, I'm going to ask them to inspect the two graphs below. Do you notice any patterns about the representations artist by their race and or gender? So I'm going to have two graphs already here for students to see. I'm going to have one where both of them I'm going to actually drag the variable year on the x-axis. Takes a little while just because it's a lot of data here. I'm going to drag the artist gender for this first graph and then artist race for the second graph. And I want to see if there's anything they noticed about the race and gender. Maybe is there equal representation of genders and race? Okay, so there might be several questions I have here, something that you want to point out, and students can also play with things in this graph as well. If I'm happy with this moment, I can click Save. So you can make as many moments as you would like to. For instance, on this one that I shared with you before, I had many moments here. I had 9 moments in all, but you can put as many as you want. Say, for instance, now I want to add another moment where I am going to talk about space. So who takes up the most space? So I'm going to create a graph, and I am going to put on space ratio here. And the space ratio is per page, so how much of the page the artists take up. So we can see, I can add here a mean. I can show measure labels. I can see that on average, people take about half square centimeter, or half the page, about half the page on average. That's also words and images. So who are these ones that are taking up a lot of space here? If I put the median on there as well, you can see that they're pretty close to each other. But we do quite have some outliers. And if I, for instance, ask my user, which artist occupy, which artists occupy the most space on the outliers to find out. That gives my user a little bit of an exploration, right? So they can actually figure out who it is. And I'm going to, just for fun, I'm going to put in one of those high outliers. If we click on it, we can see there's actually Pablo Picasso. I'm going to go into Google Images and type up Pablo Picasso. I'm going to go to Images. And click on any one of these. I'm going to just click on one of the paintings, actually. I'm not going to click on his image. That your user might know who that is. I'm not. You're not going to hit copy link address. You're going to hit copy image address. So choose copy image address, and I'm going to put in the image here. And I'm just going to hit OK. And you can see the image is right here. You can click on it. They could scroll down and see who it is. That might be kind of fun. Oh, my image is actually a textbook. That's okay. I can pick another one if I wanted to. But if I click on the image here as well, I can make maybe 150. I play with this a bit to see which ones I'd want to make it a little bit more square. Maybe not square is not the best one. Let's see, 90. It's a little bit fatter, but you can play with the images here and put different images in to make it a little bit more fun. You might even could put, maybe you could add some more text boxes here and put a bunch of different artists, right? So that people could try to guess which ones are the highest. And save it. It's kind of messy there. So these are just examples of moments, all types of stories that you could tell, that you could lead somebody through a data investigation. You can even change the name here. It says Storybuilder, but you could change it to my artist story or something of whatever words you want, right? So when you're ready to share whatever you have done, your finished story that you put together, what you're going to do is give it a name. I'm going to call it artist data story, whatever you want to call it. You can see it's unsaved. So in order to share this with somebody, we're going to hit get link to shared view and hit enable sharing. It shouldn't take so long if your internet's a little faster than mine. You get this nice long URL that you can save and send it to people. You can also embed. There's an embed code that you can get that you can put into, like, say, for instance, a learning management system or that sort of thing, or an interactive API. But I'm going to just hit close, and it's know that the shared view is enabled. And then what I want to do is once I get that link, I can get link to share view and I can copy that. You can share that to whoever you want to. So once someone has that link, they can put it in their URL and it's going to go right back to where you stopped. So I like to make sure that I've clicked on the first moment when I share it so that that's where the other person starts. Because when you share it, if you've clicked, say for instance, I'll show you, say I was here on my last moment and I'm going to update the shared view. Then when I update this one, it might not do it that quickly. It will be back to where it'll take a minute, but it will update the view to whatever the original view was. Yeah, the share view. Oh, it's updated. Let's see. Maybe it did update. No, not yet. So once you have actually saved what you want to share with somebody, I do recommend you save it to either your Google Drive or local drive. So you're going to hit save and include the sharing information in your downloaded file. And you're going to download that file, put it somewhere where you can keep it. Don't leave it in downloads. Or you can even save it into your Google Drive as well. So when you are ready to open that file back up again, you will not be able to open it. You'll see that there's nothing that you can open it with. There's not a .CODAP application, but you can just take whatever your .CODAP link is and drag it and drop it into a CODAP interface, and you'll have the original file there. So here is where you can work and make changes to your shared view. And whenever you're done, just click Update Shared View. And whatever that original link you gave to somebody, even if you gave it to them a year ago, it'll update that shared view. This is very helpful, especially if you are an instructor teaching statistics. The original Writing Data Stories project uses tools away from middle school students to create data stories, but I believe it's helpful for students at all levels to showcase their skills at telling stories, as well as for instructors to follow student thinking. It's also another helpful presentations tool for instructors to use to walk students through a data story. So I highly recommend you to be creative and share your stories. I will put all the links for that I used the data set in the descriptions, as well as the link for this original happiness report data story in the description below.